Good evening, Savva here, Football Heritage TV, joined by Hollie Agumbor from Hollie's Hotspurs. Hollie, I haven't streamed with you for a while. How are you? You well?
Yeah, well, it's been a little while, isn't it? But no, I'm glad to be back, especially talking now we're in Ange era. So no, thank you for having me on, Savva.
Ange out is streaming. Ange out. It's trending. We are also here with the Irish Hotspur, Mr. David Harris. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, my man. I'm good, especially after, watching Tottenham play the Tottenham way. So I'm feeling good today.
Yeah, well, listen, me and you both, it feels like, I feel like from some of the comments that we lost the cup final or something and that this was the most important game ever. But we'll get into it. Look, first of all, everybody in the chat, come on. You know the rules. Smash the like button on your way in. Smash the like button on your way out. As always, if we get 50 subscribers and 300 likes, we'll give away a Spurs shirt. If we don't, we won't. It's that simple. Where to start? First of all, Hollie, let's start. It's brilliant having Tottenham back. It's been really, really tough, hasn't it? Purely transfer news, gossip, rumours. Now we've got some games.
Oh, yeah, honestly, I'm so bored of talking about the same rumours. I'm not even going to mention the rumour that keeps popping its head up every 5 seconds because I'm bored of it now. But yeah, it's nice to actually watch a game of football and now be able to talk about it because although it's been a nice little break where we haven't had to watch Tottenham beat Tottenham, I'm ready for it to be back now. I need a bit more energy from the side. So, yeah, no, I'm happy football's back.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Dave, honestly, I came away from today's game thinking, God, yeah, I've seen Tottenham play for the first time in 4 years, maybe 5 years. My comments told me otherwise. My comments told me we're getting relegated. This is terrible. We've lost to West Ham. What's the overreaction for, Dave, for a defeat in a pre-season game one, where most of our players only returned on Wednesday of last week? What's the overreaction for?
Look, I think first of all in pre-season games you got to understand, right? It's not a physical battle, It's more about minutes in the legs. It's more about shape, making sure you're doing the general ideas right. But I think where I'm seeing anyway, I think where the general larger frustration is coming from is that them defensive issues are always there. And I said earlier on today, at the end of my watch along, that sadly, that's what's going to overshadow a lot of positives that we've seen out on the pitch today. And that seems to be what's happening out there because, look, the club, the way I see it, Savage, right? There's a lot of positives today. Ange's laid his stall out what he can produce at Tottenham. Now it's back over to the club to get that centre-back sorted and make sure that they bring in a couple of defenders here to really solidify that defence because it really doesn't matter what manager we have. That defence is always going to come back and cost us. And I think that's where the overall, this sort of disgruntlement comes from that, as good as it looks, if they're not going to sort the back line, we're still going to have a similar season to what we did last season. I think that's where it comes from. But for me, I'm surprised to hear maybe a lot of the reactions, Savva, because I think there's a lot of positives to take away from today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hollie, before we actually get into today's game, we'll go through the team selection and the subs and the result and everything. Have you ever had a transfer window where you've heard the words centre and backs more than this window? Like, I feel like my phone now, if I go to predicted text to even message my wife, it might as well just read, "Hi, centre backs." Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just centre backs is everything, right?
It's mental. The fact that we're still here in the first season prison game without those two centre backs that we need is crazy. And the fact that, obviously, I know you're going to get into the facts and figures of the game, but to have 4 shots for West Ham and 3 of them go in, it's like, if that doesn't scream out we need new centre backs, I do not know what does. And I think that's the real negative that I can take from today, is the fact that we're still in this position where I'm still here, like we all are, trying to wait for those transfer rumours to go through, because we've got people lined up ready. It's just we haven't got the button or the finger presser to do it so forward. So yeah, it's annoying. Like you say, it's one of those that's just turning into one of those, are we going to do it? Because I don't know if we've got much long left to get these guys over the door and embed them into the team.
Right, absolutely. I mean, look, Dave, let's look at this then. First of all, I don't want to talk about the back four. I think whatever back four we would have put out, we would have gone, yeah. Reggie can't defend, Porro can't defend, that Tanganga, God knows why he's the first choice, but, it is what it is. From minute one, though, we camped ourselves, Dave, in their half of the pitch. And I think for me, more than anything, and without trying to be too reactive about it, it just told me, oh my God, thank God we're going to play some football. Like we're actually going to press. Were you surprised how quickly the team had kind of adapted to his instructions of staying that half?
Very, very, I would actually go as far as saying impressed how quickly he's managed to get his sort of message across, because it's not that easy, but he seems to have been doing it seamlessly, and, fair play to the guy. But yeah, it's a huge positive. I mean, look, one thing that I think, regardless whether people, wanted Conte here, whether they didn't, right, all that divisive sort of stuff, one thing we can all walk away from that experience, the last few experiences, that we want to get back to playing on the front foot, attacking football. We've got the players to do it, especially in the forward areas. And we've also, I would argue, that we've got a decent enough midfield to be able to do it as well. It's just always, for me, it's been about improving that back line. But look, it's good to set out your stall like that. Just camping yourself in the opposition half. And what it does is it just keeps them penned in. And what I was really impressed about is, even when our attacks broke down, how quickly we were to get that ball back and start again. Under Antonio Conte, we were instructed to sit off, let them play. And that's what dropped us deeper and deeper and deeper. And we were seeing 20, 30 shots on our goals in most games last season. So it was nice to see us do the opposite on teams, especially when you've got the players. And I think that was some of the frustrating things under Antonio Conte, when you've got the players in the forward area, that can kill teams. But look, huge positive today that we can play football. There is a lot there to work with. But the big positive is today that there is a lot in that squad can work with, and regardless of what players we've all sat here and had our opinions on or criticised, and you can take some from all sides, that people there today performed, and some of them performed better than what many people maybe would suggest. And I think it's positive going forward. One thing I will say, Sav, is I know we don't want to talk about the back four too much, but you're going to. We've got to understand, against Liverpool, City, other teams like that, they're going to press the living crap out of you. They're not going to sit off the way West Ham did today. So that's even more critical that we do get that sorted out. But anyway, back to the positive stuff. Great to see us sitting in the opposition half. But do you know what I was impressed with most as well? The amount of chances we created. But they weren't just from one specific area. It was down the left, down the right, through the middle, popping shots off at the edge of the box. I absolutely loved it today.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Hollie, isn't it? Because we have almost become accustomed to, people were telling us there's no way you can play any form of football with these players other than sit back, wait to be attacked. But from the moment we started today, and let's be fair, there were only 2 new outfield players that we hadn't seen before. In Solomon, who everyone was like, oh my God, this is really cheap, and this is Levy, and Maddison, who we all know about. But the likes of Basuma, the likes of Skip, they looked up for it. They looked happy. They looked like they could go and express themselves. It was lovely to see, wasn't it?
It was. It's like the chains have been taken off them. And I think, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't one of Conte's fans, because I thought he was going to be the man that was going to bring it for us. But clearly that wasn't the case. And maybe going forward, this is the way we need to play to our strengths. The Tottenham way is to play attacking football. And like I said, we tried it with Jose, we tried it with Conte, and it's just not going to work. So I think with these young, hungry players, because we saw it at Brighton with Basuma, he's got it within him. So why is he not bringing it at Spurs? And I think the way Ange is trying to get these players to play the way they want to play, I think definitely works to our strengths. I think far too many times in the past we've been playing the way managers want to play. And obviously, like we all said, we want to win games. And if that was the way to win it, go for it. But it clearly wasn't happening with this group. So I'm all here for it. If it's their strengths is going forward, attacking, go for it. I mean, we always joke and saying the best form of defense is attacking. Oh my God, I sound so American then. I'm sorry. The best form of attack is defense. So why not do that?
Go on, Dave.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to come in there quickly, because for me, look, there's two ways that, there's more than one way to win a game of football. But I think the biggest takeaway from today is we prefer to see attacking football, but we're still going to lose games with that back four. Whereas if we would have had that back four all along, we probably would have won more under Conte. You sort out that back four, you're going to win more games under Ange Postecoglou. And the biggest takeaway is, regardless what we're doing, we need to get that back four to win us games. It's crucial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? A lot of the talk before this game was all about, right, who's going to be the right back? Who's going to be the left back? I'll be honest, I didn't think Porro would start, and I didn't I didn't think Reggie was going to start. I don't know why in my head I literally went to Adoji and Emerson Royale, the two that came on in the second half. And the strange thing for me is we played wing backs with the last manager without wing backs. And then this year we're playing a back four and the two fullbacks that have started are wing backs. It's all a bit crazy, Hollie, isn't it? And I suppose this is what happens when you constantly chop and change director of football, manager, players, ethos, strategy. You end up with this kind of halfway house of we're not this and we're not that. And because of that, I think people need to understand that you've got to give this manager some time to actually get them all on his page, right?
Oh, 100%. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think all of us were probably to the point last season where we all kind of had enough. And when someone put a poor performance in, we were like, right, that's it. I've had enough of him and all. But I do need to remind myself that actually, these players have gone through so many different managers, so many different ways of playing football. And I think, like you said, if we want some consistency, some continuity, and to get our culture back at Tottenham, we've got to stick with one guy. And I think after the signs of today, the way we were playing so positively, I think he could be the one. And I've always said, before you fix the football, we need to fix the culture. And I feel like the atmosphere in the trade, even when you see like little clips of them in Perth at the moment, like you can just see there's a unity, a team again. Whereas before, I don't think we really had any of that. I think everybody's heads were down. And again, that's because we were all frustrated, players and as fans. So I think it is, like I say, I think it's a good time to come. And like I say, it's at the moment, I think it's nice where he's trying these different players in different positions to try and work out what our best kind of strategy is going forward. Because you need that in preseason games. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dave, what did you make of the starting 11? I mean, lots of talk was what was the back four going to be, but there was a lot of talk of how's that three going to work. I think we all knew that Maddison and Basuma for me, are going to be they're going to start every game for me, I think. And I think a lot of it was who's going to play that six. But Basuma almost played the deepest with Skippy going beyond. Do you think that that's a long-term thing? Is this him just trying to experiment to see if the players are capable of doing these things?
Look, I think you're right. I think he's got his heart set on Basuma as the six and Maddison as one of the eight. So it's sort of left up to, Skippy, who, or that position is sort of left open. I think he tried Skip there. I'll be honest, I don't think it worked. I thought he was sort of MIA in a lot of the sort of build-up play and stuff like that. I think Papamata Sarr in the second half, I thought was so much more better. I thought so much more short. And I think, I would like to see him in with Basuma and Maddison in the midfield in the next game against Leicester. But with the starting lineup, Savva, I'm not surprised. I thought we got a bit of a glimpse into it last night when the teams were sort of revealed for that friendly game that they played. The team that started in the first half is more or less exactly the same, bar Son and Ndombele. Ndombele, of course, picked up an injury, but Son is only back from surgery. And then we had Solomon and Skip in there. So I think what we see there today is what Postecoglou, especially in the first half, probably sees as his best 11, or at least his ideal starting 11. But of course, Sarr in the second half gave him food for thought. Adoji gave him food for thought. So, there's a few players there that maybe, gave him a bit of food for thought, suggesting that they can get into that 11. Maddison, I'll be honest, I was a bit underwhelmed by him today. Don't get me wrong. He didn't lose the ball too much, but I was expecting more of him to affect the game, especially going forward. And it didn't just happen. Now, I did see him get frustrated a couple of times in the first half with Tanganga. He's shown for the ball, but because Tanganga didn't want to use his left foot, he wouldn't pass it into him, which meant he kept on reverting back to the right foot and then giving it back to Romero across, which sort of hindered it. Whereas in the second half, when we brought in Ben Davies, because he's left-footed, he opened up the body, he was gone first time, and it was so much more quicker. Overall, I think when I look at that starting lineup, I'm okay with it, but I would like to see Adoji in it and Sarr instead of Skip.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was I don't know what you think, Hollie. I thought it was a quiet start to the game from Maddison, but I thought after the first 10, 15 minutes, he started to show for the ball. He started to receive it. And what I liked about him was whether he's back to goal or not, his first thought is, right, how can I thread someone in? How can I? And I think that's a midfielder we have lacked for years. Normally our midfielders are safe. This guy kept trying to find Kane. And I mean, if Kane does stay, well, we're not going to talk about Kane at the moment, but if Kane does stay, that surely will be one of those combinations in Premier League football where we go, oh my God, that's their 15th goal between them that they've connected with. That's their 20th. What did you make of Maddison and Solomon, the two new boys out on the pitch?
Yeah, with Maddison, I kind of get what you're both kind of saying. Like, he does offer that, like you said, that risky ball through that, like you say, we've missed for so long. I can't remember how many countless times you sat there screaming, just blitz the ball through, but nobody does it. But yeah, again, he was a little bit quiet. I don't know whether that's him just trying to embed himself into the team. Obviously, I wouldn't say he's got a massive thing over his head, because obviously we need him to do what we've lacked for so long. So I don't know whether that's playing on his mind. But again, it's the first game, so I'm not going to be too harsh on him. But he will give more. I think he will grow into it. With Solomon, everybody's saying, "Oh, can't believe we've got this guy for a little fee or next to nothing. He's not going to do anything." And my God, if you stick someone in there that's got a little bit of get and go, wants to prove himself, it can do wonders. And I think we've got a bright little spark with Solomon. Again, it's the first game, so I'm not going to get too carried away with myself, but it's positive signs. And I think at the moment at Spurs, we need those little bit of positive signs.
Yeah, I mean, this is for either of you. I mean, look, Reggie, for me, going that way, i.e. defensively, is poor. But I thought the link up between him and Solomon down that left-hand side, I thought they opened them up time and time again. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my God, Solomon should start every game over Son, for example. But it does give you now a different option in games, doesn't it? Where Son's more of your through on goal, last shoulder. Solomon very much looks a tricky winger who doesn't mind facing up his man and cutting in. Would you agree with that? Good signs to see that so early on in his career at Spurs?
I think even if it was just like someone to come off the bench, again, not necessarily starting each game. But yeah, for me, I think just having that option, because we've lacked so many options at the moment, to bring him on rather than Lucas Moura is an added bonus as well.
Yeah, it was nice to see something different, wasn't it, Dave, than Bergwijn and Moura, and it was nice.
Exactly, a bit of end product there. Look, for me with the Solomon signing, right, I can get why there wasn't much uproar about, or why some people would be disappointed, right? You look at what Spurs have sort of done traditionally. It's easy to go, look, it's a cheaper option. He's not that good. It's this, that, and the other. But when you look at what he was producing at Shakhtar, he's a top quality player. And you have to remember, this guy has had to uproot from Ukraine, completely uproot his life over the last few years, and he's still the same player. And for me, getting him in here on a piece of business, and I know a lot of people go, oh, well, he done nothing at Fulham apart from the last few games of the season. Okay, but then look at the games he's played. He was injured after the first game of the season, right up until January 2023. So, that's why he only had an impact at the back end of that season. And we've got to realise as well, we have to have strength and depth at this squad. You can't always rely on Kane and Son to dig you out. You have to have other players that can do it as well. And when you look at the bench last year under Conte, how many times was it filled with defensive midfielders, wing backs, centre backs? Sometimes we just had a couple of youngsters on there, or just Richarlison, So we have to understand that we do need them options off the bench. And with Solomon today, I thought was very, very positive. He got on the ball. He drew his first instinct, drive at the fullback. And that's what I want to see from my winger. Someone that wants to make things happen, get me out of my seat, because I go crazy when I see wingers picking up the ball and just passing it back inside or passing it back.
5 yards inside, a Ryan Sessegnon special.
Exactly. And like what people forget is the reason why it goes out to them is because they're the magic makers. That's what people give them the ball to be able to produce. And Solomon done that today. Every time he got the ball straight at his fullback, and he mixed it up. He tried to go outside, put crosses in, cut inside, and have a couple of shots. So for me, I think he'll fit in comfortably well at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, obviously at the start, he probably will end up playing back up to Son, and we'll have to make that impact off the bench. But maybe it's a little lesson on that. Sometimes we can't just always, give the initial critique, that you have the feeling. Sometimes you have to sort of look at what Tottenham are doing. Now, Tottenham are never going to spend 50, 60, 70, 80 million on a backup for Son. As much as I would love Tottenham to do it, I'm resigned to the fact we're not going to do it. So, bringing in Solomon on this occasion, I think was a smart piece of business. Of course, he's got a lot more to do, but it's a good start. Much more refreshing than Bergwijn or bloody Lucas.
Listen, before I ask Hollie a really nice, easy question, everyone in the chat, there's 347 of you at the moment. It's growing every second. Smash the like button. Let's not be stingy. Let's not be Daniel Levy with the likes. We've got 118 at the moment, so about a third of you. Please also go over and subscribe to Hollie's Hotspurs and to the Irish Hotspur. Let's let's help the Spurs community out, right? Let's all grow together, build and grow. And of course, if you do fancy subscribing to me, then do. Hollie, for all these positives, for all this good stuff we saw in the first half, West Ham did absolutely nothing apart from 2 dangerous crosses into our box, and we were undone both times. What happened? I mean, it was 2 very, very easily defendable crosses, I think. What happened there?
Everybody just leaves everybody else for everybody else's man. There's no I don't know if there's communication, and there can't be, because everybody's about 500 feet away from their man. It's just ridiculous. It drives me insane. And the thing is, it's always a dead ball specialist, or it's always a cross that comes in. It's always aerial, and I just don't understand how it happens every single time. And like you say, as many times as we can talk about the positives going forward, we still have not managed to fix what is going on at the back. And I still, to this day, do not understand how we're going to fix this unless we just boot the ones out that are rubbish. And obviously we can't do that with Tottenham Hotspur, because, as we say, it's very hard to get anyone out at the moment that's in that position, because nobody really wants them. So trying to sort that is another thing. But like I say, we need to get those centre-backs in to just push them off to the bench if we can't sell them on, because it's getting to the point now where any combination you throw out there just isn't competent enough to defend. They're the likes of Romero, but with Romero, you need someone that I think is next to him that's level-headed, that can also pair with him very well, because as much as I love Romero, he has got that little bit of stint in him he's going to go and clatter someone, which is great in some aspects, but not all the time. So hopefully Ange can iron that out a little bit for him. But we just need someone next to him that's good enough with, I think, pace. I don't think we've got enough pace at the back to be able to deal with people, because there's at times where Sanchez just left people with acres of space because he knew that he wasn't fast enough. And I'm like, you can't do that in the Premier League. It's just not okay. So yeah, there's that defense is just horrible. We need to fix it ASAP. I just hope we do.
Yeah, I listen, I don't think you said anything that I wouldn't agree with there. I mean, Dave, it's, again, crosses come into the box. You see sometimes when defenders defend their box, proper defenders that love defending, they make it their life's work to go, I'm going to win that ball. I'm going to go and head that. I'm going to attack it. The first ball that came in, it just felt like Romero had a kind of half-hearted jump. Reggie kind of jumped into his man, but he was completely the wrong side of his man. And then the second goal, again, it was just sort of like a really easy ball in, no one marking anyone at all. Where's the leader in there? Where's somebody going, "Oi, you, come here. You, 5 yards next to me. Right, when this cross comes in, he's mine. I'll get..." There's none of that, is it? And nothing's going to change at this football club, Dave, until Spurs go and sort this out.
No, and that's exactly what I was going to say. You have that leader, that then problems get solved immediately, or a lot of them. Look, we all know, when the ball goes out of play, you naturally, as a player, you end up taking a bit of a breather, right? You switch off for that split moment. But when the set piece is being set up, that's where you need that guy, right guy, switch back on. Like you said, pick him up. Who's on the near post, far post, And what I didn't like is Ange came out and took responsibility for it today, right? And fair play to the guy. But let's not sit here and pretend that hasn't been happening since Jose Mourinho or Conte. The balls into the box is a real problem. You've got Romero, who in the air, it's his weakest. I know you would argue on other areas, but, up in the air, it's not his strong point. And he's a relatively small centre-back compared to, what else is in the Premier League. You look at Reguilon, he was caught ball watching. That's what that was. He wasn't even aware the guy was there. But again, you have a leader. And that also came off a West Ham corner, by the way. Reguilon cleared it. Then they picked up the ball and it was returned back into the box. But if you have a leader, he's automatically talking to people, be aware of the second ball in, push out, and that would solve a hell of a lot of problems, but we just don't have it. And until we get it, we're going to keep seeing the same things. And what frustrates me more, I can be okay with being undone with a bit of genius, a cracking effort, something like that. But we just get undone so easily without, even contesting.
Most teams clear both those balls, Dave. Most teams clear both those balls, and Tottenham got. Look, I don't care about the win. I don't care that we won or lost, because for me it's about fitness and it's about the actual season. But in most games, you clear that, you win the game, you walk away, and everyone's saying, oh my God, that should have been 8-1 to Spurs. Yeah. Instead, we're walking away with a, let's be fair, West Ham offered nothing going forward. Like they weren't a threat apart from 3 occasions. And the thing that makes me laugh, guys, about this is I watched another video today of Tap Sober, for example, and the Van der Ven. I like to go on and see different compilations and stuff. And every time I watch these guys, they go and attack the ball. Their anticipation of knowing where to be in the box. Tap Sober's 6'4", as is Van der Ven. They go and attack it. Their anticipation is really, really good. And we're still sitting here on the 18th of July, 2023, probably 4 years after Jan and Toby had hit their spiral down. And we're still seeing the same issues. But is this really just on Daniel Levy? How has no one gone in and gone, oi, I am only taking this job. I want these 2 centre-backs. I am not doing anything until that happens.
But do you know what, Savva? Like, the thing is, Jose Mourinho asked for a centre-back. The club provided him Joe Rodon.
Yeah, sure. I know. Yeah.
You know, Conte asked for a centre-back. The club provided him Clement Langley on loan. You know, the club have not been proactive enough. Like, the thing is, right, you know yourself as well as me, Savva, same as you, Hollie. You can't teach that desire to want to defend. You can't teach that guy to be the one to want to go and clear that ball. You either have with it and you're born with it, or you're not.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
You cannot coach it. And what we fail to realise at this football club is you've had Jose Mourinho, Conte, Nuno, Stellini, Mason. We've had changes up at boardroom level, restructuring changes, scout changes. We've had backroom coach changes, left, right, and centre under all these managers. And it's still the same. Someone at the club recognised the only way you're going to solve this issue is by buying top quality centre-backs. But I think the problem we have is that everyone in the world knows we need centre-backs. So when Tottenham go to buy, because of the shit we got and we know we're desperate, that price increases. And Daniel Levy doesn't like that. And therein lies our problem.
Yeah, I think, Hollie, isn't the frustrating thing about all of this is, like, I was chatting with Henry Wright about this earlier, and I said, we've just spent 80 million on Pedro Porro and Kulu, right? Pedro Porro, right back, who can't play right back, right? Kulu is someone who I've been really unimpressed with for a long time, but that's a different story. We'll talk about that later. That 80 million for me is 2 very good centre-backs, and we're no longer having these conversations. So what is the unwillingness? Why is there... So let me change that question. Why is there willingness to go and do it for an attacking midfielder, for a winger, for a wing-back, for a centre-mid? But centre-half is almost like we're immune to paying for top centre-backs. What is going on?
To be honest with you, I think before we obviously got those attacking midfielders and things, I think there was a big problem, and everybody was saying that the culture at Spurs is to attack. We can't attack with the players we've got. We need to go out and buy some, which I think is guaranteed. Obviously, Maddison was great. Pedro Porro, I'm a bit like, okay, I see where you're coming from. With Kulusevski, I like Kulusevski, which means we'll probably have a debate / argument later.
It's not that I don't like him. It's not that I don't like him. He's just another one that I need to see more. My frustration is that we've got other players that can do those types of roles for me, but at centre half, which is the area we keep neglecting, I think if we had not bought Porro and Kulu, listen, in an ideal world, right, it should be all of them, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's either or, but the frustrating thing is we're so quick to go out, yeah, bang, bang, we'll have them 2. But the 2 centre-halves that could completely revolutionise our whole team and our whole season and the whole club, we won't do it. It seems strange.
It is strange, but I also think it goes back to kind of the point that Dave made in the sense that everybody knows that we need it. Like, everybody knows we need centre-backs, so they're going to up the price. And we know Daniel Levy's not going to want to depart his money at a high stake. But I also think it's because the amount of centre-backs we have. And they're probably reluctant to buy a young centre-back because they've tried it before and it's not worked. It is really difficult because, like you say, we all know, everybody knows that we need those 2 centre-backs. It's just weighing up whether A, they're going to pay a high fee, or B, they're going to put their faith in an up-and-coming, potential really good young defender. I don't know if they're going to do it again. And don't get me wrong, I think we're going down that avenue of going for statistics more so now than going off hoping, which I kind of think was what Sanchez was. It was more of a hope buy. But I think the route we're going down now is down statistics. And if we're going down statistics, then there should be no reason why we shouldn't get these two centre-backs. But I think because of the because of the class of players we currently have at centre-back, they're just reluctant to get anyone else in because they're like, we're not going to be able to shift the ones we currently have, which shouldn't stop us from buying those centre-backs.
Basically, we don't want 10 first-team centre-backs and only 2 of them are any good, right?
Exactly. We can't shift the others out. They're not going to be reluctant to do it, sort of thing.
Like, it's a mess we created. We put Dyer on 85 grand a week. We put Dyer on 80 grand a week. We put Sanchez on 67 grand a week. God knows what Rodon's on, probably 50, but like that's our own doing. And I firmly believe, and I've made this point before, the reason why the club brought in defensive managers after Pochettino is because they didn't want to spend on centre-backs. They wanted to use them managers to try and form a defensive unit out of it. And since then, that's all gone kaplunk on them because it's down to the people. But the problem we have is, right now at centre-back region, we're selling out in and around 300 grand a week. About 500 grand a week just on centre-backs alone. That's $250,000. Daniel Levy has to adhere to a wage budget. The problem we've got is there may well be some interest in some of these guys from low league teams, but the teams and the leagues that they're coming from do not have that money to match the wages they're on at Tottenham Hotspur. They're not going to give up that money. Giving up that money gives up a certain lifestyle, and that's a problem. But why would they go anywhere? The club haven't brought anybody in to make them force their hand and make it look like there's no football around here. So,
that's the double-edged sword, Dave, isn't it? That's the double-edged sword. For me, listen, I can. Do you know what? I hate it when I agree with 2 people and I feel contradictory. But it's so true, isn't it? It's like, well, hang on, we've got 6 centre-backs. Surely there's no room for any more. But like you're saying, Dave, if Tapsoba and listen, the only reason we all say these 2 names is because we've been linked with them for about 9 years now, it feels like. I know it's only been a month, but it feels like forever. If Tapsoba and Van der Ven both flew out and on Saturday morning were in Australia with a team, the other centre-backs that know they're not that good are going to look around and go, oh, I've got to leave. Like, I'm not getting a game. Romero and Tapsoba and Van der Ven are going to be the 3 first choice. I've got to leave, right? And it is kind of chicken and egg, but all I know is I just can't understand how this has gone on. Like, it took 4 years to get a playmaker in James Maddison. It took 4 years. I can't even remember the last game Toby Alderweireld or Jan Vertonghen played together. That must have been 5 years ago, maybe just over 4 years ago. And still, in every single... I could do a video about anything. I could do a video saying I'm going to give every one of my followers £1 million. The response wouldn't be, thanks, Savva, you're really generous. It would be, yeah, but where's our centre-backs? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, literally, this is the answer to every question in the world at the moment. Centre-backs, centre-backs, centre-backs.
I can guarantee you this scenario is playing out in the football club. Someone's come in, starting negotiation with one of the guys. For instance, we'll pick Dyer, right? 85 grand a week.
Your best mate.
My best mate, honestly. And by the way, that PR spin the club tried to do last week was pathetic as well with that thing on Spurs Play. Still haven't watched it, and I'm not going to either. But when it comes to Dyer, right, for instance, 85k a week, club comes in, okay, Dyer, we want you. We can only afford to give you 35 grand a week. Dyer turns around and goes, well, I've got 3 years left on my Tottenham contract, so I'll go and speak to Daniel. Okay, Daniel, will you make up the rest of the wages? Daniel then turns around and goes, well, if I'm just going to still be paying you about 40, 50 grand a week anyway, what's the point of me bringing in centre-back? I'll just keep you around. Guarantee you that scenario's played out a couple of times. Guarantee you.
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is, look, listen, I'm sure there's a lot of scenarios going on. I mean, it came out last Monday. I don't even know what day is today. Was it Tuesday? I don't even know anymore. It came out last Monday that Galatasaray had bid €9 million for Sanchez. I think this tells us so much about how bad some of them are, that the bid for Sanchez was £7.5 million sterling, right? Now, a week later, there's been no noises of, well, did we accept? Did we reject? Did we negotiate? Then today it's, hang on, we're going to take a Nelson coming the other way, who's the Danish centre-half. it just always feels like it's that kind of cheap. Listen, I've seen Nelson a few times and he looks decent. I'm not going to go overboard about him. He looks decent and he's better than what we've got, but is that good enough? Hollie, it feels like it's always going to be the cheap option rather than going, right, Tapsoba's our number one centre-back target. Right, you know what? What do you want? What do you want? You want £50 million? Right, we've got to do this to save ourselves. Bang. It's, oh, hang on. If we get rid of Sanchez and we give them 10 million as well, we get Nelson. That's what it feels like as a club we do.
It's all the time, 100%. And it feels like, and you say like, with things like that, I'm always dreading the transfer window because it's never as exciting as I always expect it to be, and I always put myself in that false notion. But yeah, it always is. We always go back to the funny joke. It's, we'll give you this player and some crisps. Like, it's always to that kind of extent, and I feel like that's just the way Tottenham does things in the transfer window. I don't think it's going to change either. I think when we've bought all these players quite high and then we have to take a cut, we're never going to ever be the type of club that's going to be like, all right, we're going to bang you what you want, because it's never going to happen, I don't think, being at Spurs, especially while we've got this kind of board at Tottenham at the moment. So, yeah, let's keep going, because that's what he's going to keep doing.
The thing is, though, right, if the club had a model in place where the scouting department was right, we were getting in, players at a fairly reasonable price that were absolutely brilliant, a bit like what we used to do, right? You look at some of the Pochettino team. Walker was identified at Sheffield United, brought in Rose at Leeds. People like that. For Tongan, we didn't spend a massive amount of money on. Toby, we didn't either. I think I done a thing the other day. That whole backline, I think, cost us about £50 million. Now, we probably double that to nowadays, with the inflation and stuff, probably about £100 million. But that's why fans like us want the best in class, because you don't even have a model that operates under your wage or under the money you want to spend that you can put to us and say this works. So that's why whenever we want to sign a player, we're like, well, we need this guy, we need that guy. So until the club get that model in place, then they have to keep expecting that the fans are going to keep expecting the best in class. But anyway, there's no excuse for not having a centre back in here before pre-season. You can see this.
You're right.
Last season, it's the worst defence in Tottenham's history. And when you've got something that is that leaky, you've got to plug it straight away. Like building a house, you lay the foundation and you build everything else on top of it. Sir Alex Ferguson spoke about the importance of a defence, that it wins you leagues. So, it doesn't take, Daniel Levy can't be oblivious to this. There is no excuse whatsoever. And I don't want to hear any excuses about negotiations, clubs waiting to bring in replacements for them to sell. I don't even want to hear any excuses about
it. Yeah, every other club seems to do it, don't they? Every other club seems to go get their target. I mean, just quickly, I will quickly go to Timman007. Big up, Timman. Thank you for the super chat. Has said, big up everybody and the Harris Army. Dave, you're famous. You've got like your own army and stuff, man. Do you guys worry that Levy is going to do a Berbatov part 2, selling Kane on deadline day without a replacement? Tin Man, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm going to park this and I will address this once we've finished with the defence. Because otherwise, if we go off in a tangent on Harry Kane right now, we'll be here tomorrow night after a 24-hour stream talking about Harry Kane and is he ambitious and should he join Bayern Munich? So I'll come to this. I'm going to star it, which means I'm going to put it in the background and then I'll come back to this. But thank you so much. Look, as we talk about centre-backs, I think that's the thing, Dave, what Dave was saying, Hollie, that, if we had a really good scouting team that we trusted the way like Brighton trust their scouting team, we could buy an 18-year-old centre-back and go, all right, we trust them. We know how it's worked for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 players. We trust them. But we haven't had that. And on that basis, tonight, all the reports are saying that Tottenham tomorrow are going to sign 18-year-old centre-back Ashley Phillips from Blackburn. Now, just to put some meat on the bones, Hollie, before everyone starts telling you they know Ashley Phillips inside out and this is a brilliant player, Ashley Phillips in his career has played 14 first-team games for Blackburn Rovers, which is 8 appearances in the league and 6 appearances in cups. Now, I'm not suggesting this guy will be bought as one of the first-team centre-halves for now, but isn't it, again, that would be such a frustrating thing that this is more a priority than the Tapsobers, the Van der Vens. Isn't this almost unfair to the kid that it will go under the radar because no one wants a kid at the moment? We want first team starters.
I think so. I think it's just timing again. It's just, don't get me wrong, I don't want to turn my nose up at a player ever, because again, you could be at that situation with Sullivan. Like I didn't think he was going to be all that, and he today he's proven that he has got something about him. So I don't want to turn my nose up, but again, when you've got these other priorities, like we keep banging on about, these two centre backs that need to be established, for them go and buy someone that's only 18, bless him. And don't get me wrong, like you said, he's probably one for the future, and he probably will develop into a good person and a good player. But for right now, it just, even if we go out and get one centre back, I know we need two, but even if we go and just get one that's established that can slot into that first team, then cool. But I don't want it to be a diversion and be like, well, we've got a centre back now, guys. Like, it's done. So I just don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, Dave. Do you know what? Again, the word you used there was perfect, Hollie. Timing. It almost felt like whenever this club announces something, it's like they've got no idea what the fan base is thinking and feeling and going through. I.e., it was, ticket prices. Surely get your two top-class centre-backs in, then tell us about the ticket prices, and now nobody's as bothered as much because it's like, cool, all right, you've addressed the problems. But you ain't addressed the problems, and you've announced ticket prices going up. You haven't addressed the centre-half problems. You release an Eric Dyer documentary about one of the defenders that has been one of the main root causes of our bad defence for the last decade. This is his 10th season. Dave, if this guy's coming in, good luck to him. Let's hope we've scouted him. Let's hope he's good. But again, it's just priorities, mate, isn't it?
Look, first of all, on everything you've just said, I mean, people wonder why I get angry at this football club, right? But, the thing is, Savva, they don't care about timing, because the reality is, as much as I give out about them, as much as I give out about the centre-back situation, even if we don't get it done, I'm still going to watch a full season of Tottenham Hotspur.
Right, sure.
Even with the ticket prices, they don't care, because they know fans are still going to pay it. They're just going to pay it. They know it. And look, that's why they don't care about timing, because it doesn't matter. Just put it out there. They're going to moan. They're going to have a 2-day uproar about it. But at the end of the day, over the long scheme of things, they're still going to pay. So
let the YouTubers moan. They don't care. Go on, let them moan. It's all right. Yeah.
But like with Ashley Phillips, this guy we're actually linked with last summer. We tried to do a deal for this guy last summer. And, it's, for me, he's not coming in here as a star. He's going to come in. He's going to go into that development squad, the under-21 squad. But again, it's just, what it doesn't do is, because it's going to be unfair on the kid. The kid's going to get announced. There's going to be uproar about it. People are going to go delving deep into Phillips, see what he can offer, critique him left, right, and centre. And it's like, this guy's brought in here to develop. But the club are putting that young kid in that position, because we all know there's going to be meltdown when he comes in tomorrow. It's not Tapsoba. It's not this. It's not that. So, I think the club, even if they don't care about us fans, the players that you are buying, especially young lads, just do Tapsoba first and then announce them. Or in fact, announce Tapsoba and him together. Keep people happy. But do not kill the young lad's career off before it's even begun.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the report I've seen as well, and it's talking about him immediately joining up with the first team and this kind of stuff. And listen, again, what I won't do, like what you said, Hollie, I'm not going to knock him. I can't sit here and say I've ever watched Ashley Phillips play. I can't tell you a pro. I can't tell you a con. All I can tell you is the guy's played 8 games in the Championship, right? And for me, I think it would be wonderful if you said, right, you've got Romero, you've brought in Tapsoba and Van der Ven. Now Ashley Phillips is going to be one of the 2 backups behind that. Him and, I don't know, Dorrington, him and Sayers. And then you start chipping away at the Davis, the Dyers, and the and those lot leaving. But look, it's really, really tough being a Spurs fan in a transfer window, isn't it? It's like you said, it's not enjoyable anymore, Hollie, because we don't do what's needed.
No, 100%. And it's been like this for a long time, that every time the window opens, I get hyped for it. And it's just like, why do I even bother? But I mean, there's wishful thinking. Maybe that's kind of in the pipeline, and you never know, Tapsoba and Van Ven can be walking through the door in the next couple of weeks. But I'm not going to hold my breath. But yeah, I just think, going on what Dave said, it's just, I don't think it's the right not necessarily the right culture at the moment, because I think we are getting that back with Ange. It's just with everything that's going on, again, it's that keyword timing. It's not right to bring in a young lad right now while we haven't got those 2 established centre backs.
But on that as well, though, Hollie, quickly, like, you know, we can bring in managers to try and bring in this winning culture. Look, whether people like Jose's style of football, he's brought a winning culture to where he's been. Whether people like Conte's style of football, he's brought a winning culture to where he's been. And Postecoglou the same. You know, but it also has to come from the boardroom. The boardroom have to match the manager's winning mentality. There's no point of bringing in a manager and just go, right, Dyer, instead of, or any player, actually. I'm not even just going to pick out Dyer, any player. There's no point in coming in and going, okay, stop with that losing mentality, now become a winner. Reality is, the club also have to help fund that winning mentality by bringing in players that are ready-made ability with that sort of mentality as well. It stems on the club. They have to follow up in the market. You can't sit there and go, okay, Jose, turn Dyer into a winning machine. Or not Roden. Yeah. Turn Roden into a winning machine. It's not the way football works. If you're going to bring in a manager with a winning mentality, that comes at a premium. And you also have to go and get the players to come with it.
And I think oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, with the culture thing, like, obviously we all want to win. I think that's 100% what we want to do. But I just think with this culture thing, because we've gone back so many years when unraveling what we've done, and without giving the managers what we want, this, that, and the other, we're left with dead wood, so to speak. Having Ange, I just feel refreshed. And I think even before we even think about winning things, as much as that sounds horrific, I think we just need to start with basics again. We need to realise that this is Tottenham Hotspur we're playing for. And I totally agree. You need the board and that to back what these managers' ideologies are. But at the moment, I'm just happy that it sounds horrendous, because for so many years I've been like, I want to win things. But we had those managers to win things. It never happened. Right now, I want to get the basics right and then build those foundations to win things. And I think Ange is hopefully going to be the one to do it. Like I said, it's got to come from the top to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the key thing for me here is I'm so far past the expecting to win things stage. I think we've blown that in the last 10 years where we had opportunities to win things. For me, I think it's like those stages of grief. At the moment, we just need, I know this sounds awful, it's about getting that feel-good factor back before anything. People talking about winning, I think we're miles off that. There's so many clubs now with a lot of money. There's so many clubs pumping money in on big signings and that are better than us. But with Ange, as you said, it does feel like there's something there. Now, just quickly, lots of comments in the chat saying this deal won't affect Van der Ven and Tapsoba. But first and foremost, look, I don't think anyone said it had. I think what we're saying is it's about the timing. It's about perception. That in a window where everyone only cares about 2 quality centre-backs, the first centre-back we sign in will be a kid of 18. It's perception. It's nothing on him. I've got nothing against him. He could be the best centre-half in the country in 5 years. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. It's for the youth. Cool. But as fans right now, can we think about now? Can the club think about the first team? Can we get the first team? Because what does that tell you about, and I don't want to go into this too deep, but what does that tell us about Sayers, Dorrington, all these people that keep telling me these are good centre-backs that need their chance in the first team? Then you go and buy an 18-year-old from Blackburn. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go into that, but it is what it is. Guys, what I do want to do, I want to follow up. I want to follow up with that question for the super chat. And by the way, please keep smashing the likes. There's 404 of you in here, only 178 likes. Let's get that to 250 as quickly as possible. And please keep subscribing to myself, to Hollie, and to David. Their links are in my bio. They're on the video, so please do go over and subscribe to them as well. Let's talk about the Harry Kane situation, because the super chat came in, and to remind ourselves, it says, do you guys worry that Levy is going to do a Berbatov part 2, selling Kane on deadline day without a replacement? The Harry Kane conversation has been done to death. We've seen him do this before, but we haven't done this with a player since, if I remember right. I don't think we've done this since, in terms of last day, massive player goes, you bring in Fraser Campbell. I can't see this happening at all. I can't see him going. Hollie, what are your thoughts on this? Berbatov part 2? Do you see him going?
Hopefully not. But like I said, he can do it second time. I wouldn't put it past him. Like we said about timing and not really caring what his PR is at the moment. I could see it happening, but there'll be an utter meltdown in the fan house to next level. So I don't really want to be around to see that. But I don't know. I think the Harry Kane talk is just, like I said, they've already spoken about it to death. I think it just comes down to what Harry Kane wants now. And I know that's really easy for me to say, but he is his own person. For me, I don't think he goes. He's building a house. He's got another baby on the way. Does he really want to uproot his whole family away from Tottenham to go abroad? I don't think so. I also don't think he's going to sign another deal. I think he's just going to run his contract down. He's got the freedom to go ever where he pleases at the end of next season. And the thing is, everybody says, why don't you take money for him now, before it's too late, so you can use the funds to get X and X. But the thing is with Harry Kane, we need to get centre-backs. If we sell Harry Kane, we then need to get 3 players to replace Harry Kane, because what that man does on the pitch is ridiculous. And he's not just one player. Let's be real. Last season, he was doing about the job of 3 other people. So if we do let Harry Kane go, we've then got to replace that as well. And I just don't see that working. And I also think we'd be in a very bad situation coming into the league with it. And I also see, I know it's putting it out there quite big and it's probably a very bold statement, but if we keep Harry Kane, there is a slight, I say very slight possibility of potentially getting back into Europe. If Harry Kane goes, that's not going to happen. So if he goes in the free at the end of the season, we've got money from being into that European stage again for qualifying. So I don't think it would be the end of the world if he leaves on a free, because I don't technically think he's leaving on a free, if that makes sense, if we manage to qualify. But there's no hope.
If we don't, that's the problem. If we don't, is then going to be, well, there's no money to replace him. Just really, really quickly, by the way, I don't know if you guys are in a different show than I'm on right now, but like, I don't know if anyone was losing their shit. I mean, I think we were literally having a conversation about Phillips and what happens. And I mean, I don't know what people hear, but okay. Dave, the Kane thing, I don't know about you. I'm absolutely bored of it. Like, people keep saying things like, he should just come out and tell us.
Never going to do it.
He hasn't got to do anything. Like, why has he got to come out and tell us what?
Look, first of all, big up Tim Manning up the Harris Army. Big up, my man. Great start to the call. He knows I love talking about Kane. I think that's why he put it in there personally. But look, when it comes to Harry Kane, look, we got to understand, as much as we would like him to come out and go, yeah, I want to stay, he ain't going to do that. Even if in his mind he does want to stay, or he wants to give Tottenham a chance to prove they can put the product on the pitch to be able to support him in his quest to win trophies, he's never going to sign on a dotted line earlier or this summer. You know, he's going to wait to near the end of the window if he's ever going to sign a contract. But, you know, with Harry Kane, he's in a powerful position. And whether we like it or not, business is a part of football. So wherever he goes, he can leverage as much money as he can out of it. And he's in his last contract. And what that guy's contributed for club and country, he deserves every bit of money he's going to get from it. When it comes to Harry Kane, I'm truly of the belief he's trying to give Tottenham one last chance. We know Tottenham is in his heart. We know he loves it. And I think he's waiting to see what sort of standard of product is on this pitch, you know, come towards the end of preseason, and then might make his decision. But he's in no rush either. Anyway, even if he does want to leave, you know, he can go at the end of the summer if he chooses not to sign anyway. So he's not in any rush to depart, and nor is he going to come out and ruin or rip apart his relationship with the Spurs fan base to do it. So him not saying anything, him not signing, and just seeing if Bayern want to come up with the money and the clubs can agree a fee, then it might happen. And I think if the clubs do agree a fee, I think Kane's gone, because I've heard lots of players say this before. I was at a club, I was doing well, I was scoring goals. All of a sudden, the fee came in, they agreed to it. So in my mind, well, okay, then I'm obviously not that valuable, so I'll just go. So, you know, I think, you know, Harry Kane can use that excuse if Bayern come in for him. But I genuinely believe he's trying to give Tottenham one last chance. But we don't bring in centre-backs, he's not going to sign. So, you know, if we can get the Tottenham we've seen today with a decent standard back four, it might be enough to convince Kane to sign on the dotted line and give the whole Ange Postecoglou project a chance. I know some people will say it's wishful thinking, but that guy is Spurs first. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, Hollie, isn't it? Because, again, loads of people say he's got to tell us something, but I feel that that's emotion rather than the reality. And what I mean by that is, I always say this quite a lot. I pride myself on being able to remove my Spurs hat to have a conversation, right? If I remove my Spurs hat, if I'm looking in at this, if I'm Harry Kane, I'm doing nothing. I am sitting tight. I am going to let this summer ride out. I'm going to see what happens. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through. First thing I'll do is say, right, first thing, get me through to January. Get me through to the January transfer window where there might be a small bidding war for him for clubs that want to bolster their attack for the second half of the season to try and get over the line in Champions Leagues, for foreign clubs that can sign him before English clubs can. Right, great. Or I say, one last year, I'll see it through. Next year, I can go where I want. I'll probably get 500 grand a week. I can get probably a 25 million pound signing on bonus. I wouldn't do anything if I was Kane right now. Now, that's different to what I want Spurs to do as a Spurs fan. But if I'm Harry Kane, I'm not doing anything, right?
No, and it pains me to say that because I'm probably one of those people that's like, you just need to say so it makes. It's driving me up the wall. But no, you are right.
Just send a WhatsApp to somebody that we can all read.
Exactly. We'll keep it under the wraps, but I just need to know. But no, you are right. Being Kane, he's not stupid. He is very clever. And I think he is going about it in the way that's best for him. I wouldn't say as best as a Spurs fan, but the best in the way for him, because like you say, he can literally do whatever he pleases. He's got so much time in the world. And I think that's the most irritating thing for Spurs fans, because we all want to know. We want to know whether he's staying. We want to know if this project is going to be brilliant with him at the helm. And we just can't do that at the moment. But yeah, no, I think, he's just going to wait out as long as possible to then make his decision.
Yeah. I think what makes it more tough, Dave, is, when players go on a free transfer, they get some offers, but high profile players like this are very rarely up for grabs on a free, are they? And let's be really honest, if Harry Kane goes on a free transfer, you're going to have City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona. You're going to have the who's who of footballing royalty all. And I just said to Ransom Bance on a stream with him, it will literally be his agent going, right, if you want a seat at this negotiation table, we're starting minimum 500 grand a week, minimum 20 million signing on fee. Do you want part of it? Right. That's why he's got the power, right? That's his prerogative.
Yeah. And I've always said that, he's never going to sign a contract when the power is his. He can decide what he wants to do. At the end of the day, people want him to come out and commit to Tottenham. Okay, well then get Tottenham to do the business to convince him that he can win trophies here. It's all he's ever wanted to do, is just be in a position to win trophies. He said that multiple times. The last time he said it was when he was on the verge of breaking Greaves' goal record back in January when they interviewed him. That he still has the ambition of winning trophies at Tottenham, but ultimately he wants to finish the career winning trophies. So, I see a lot of it being steered toward a lot of the stuff being put on Kane. But, you can't let the club sort of evade this either. They've allowed this situation to manifest. They've allowed it to get to this point. They weren't proactive enough in, doing enough under other managers, so we didn't have to keep rotating different managers, bringing them in the door. Kane's also seeing different training coaches asking different things of them, everything else. And it's getting to a point, you can't let the club buy on this as well. If the club would have done business beforehand in the right areas when we've needed and the right business, the guy, we wouldn't even be in this situation. The guy would have signed that on the dotted line. So as much as you're frustrated at Kane, you should also be frustrated at the club for having us in this position in the first place.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? I mean, look, Hollie, one thing that we did get today, you know what we're all like as football fans. We see one thing and make a mountain out of a molehill. It's brilliant. It's what we all do with football fans. But people saying, Kane looked a little bit off today. His body language didn't look like he wanted to be there. I just saw a bloke that has had about 3 training sessions since he's come back from holiday on the Wednesday, flown to Australia on the Friday or Thursday, whatever it is, Friday morning. Must have had 2 training sessions in Australia and played a game. And people are now trying to make the link to him not scoring or not looking as sharp as he normally is as he don't want to be here. I mean, it's a big stretch, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's where us as football fans also are pretty bad, in the sense that we kind of forget that these players are human. And I'm going to be one of those people that put my hands up and say the same thing. And I think that sometimes is the real downfall with us as fans, because we just forget. And it is horrible to say that, but the man's human. Like you said, he's had a busy summer. Obviously, his wife, Kate, is pregnant as well. So I can imagine she's obviously keeping him up at night as well with agony and things, with childbirth and all of that jazz. So I think, we just need to remember that he's human. He's probably got a lot on his plate, because I know we're all talking about he's keeping it obviously shush. So he's got that to deal with as well. So I just think we just need to remember he's human. And for us as fans to make life easier, so to speak, let's not make things out of a molehill out of a mountain. Like, let's just leave that for someone else to do.
It's annoying though. Like, just look at Harry Kane's record. He notoriously starts slow. He starts slow and builds up. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I've never known, to be honest, so much being read into pre-season games. I feel like down the years, I've seen Spurs have wonderful pre-seasons. I've seen us have awful pre-seasons. And very rarely does it ever have a correlation into how a season starts. And the one that always sticks out for me is 2008. Right, in 2008-2009 season, we just won the League Cup. Funnily enough, it was the season when we sold Dimitar Berbatov and Robbie Keane in the same window. But that pre-season under One Day Ramos, we battered everyone. I remember beating like Roma about 6-1 or 5-1 or something, and we won every game and everyone was hyped up. We then went into the first 8 games of the season and took 2 points. Ramos was sacked. We were bottom of the league and Redknapp comes in. So I don't quite see the correlation between whether we win at West Ham or lose against West Ham and what the season's going to be like. Is that a simplistic way of looking at it? Or do you guys read more into the results? Or is it more about the performances?
I think for me personally, you always want to win your game. I'd be lying if I said, being a fan, that I don't want to win every game. But
Sure.
We've also got to put it into perspective of the fact that we've got a new manager, a new style of play. We've got all these guys coming back off loan. It's pretty much a brand new squad, so to speak. And yes, okay, we've got the defence. But in that you've got to try and gel everybody together. So in that respect, don't really read too much into it. I try not to, because, as you know, Twitter's a lovely place where everybody likes to have their opinion. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not so great. So with that, I think it's just nice to see us with some attacking passage of play for once. I think that's what I've really taken from this first preseason game, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, listen, of course, no one wants to lose games, but, I didn't end that game and feel like, oh my God, Spurs have lost. I didn't feel deflated. I actually felt positive from what I'd seen.
Look, I think we're all guilty of reading too much into preseason. Even if you're sitting there and you're going, oh, bloody centre-backs, someone who said just wants you to be completely positive would go, oh, you're reading too much into preseason, but then they'll go on and say how excellent we were. Then you'll have it saying the other way, where someone would be like, oh, you're being too positive, but then that guy's reading into the centre-back situation. Look, for me, I get it. Like, we've all played the game. We've all been involved in preseasons. It's more to do with leg work, shape, making sure you're understanding the tactics, this, that, and the other. However, I don't like losing to my rivals. I don't care whether it's a friendly, whether it's, a bubble-blown contest. I do not care. I do not like losing to my rivals. So that hurts, especially with West Ham. It's personal with me. And so that hurts me. But, look, at the end of the day, one thing you can't read into is the defence, actually. Dyer actually made a mistake against Roma last season in the preseason. And everyone, I grilled him for it. And everyone's like, Dave, you're being too harsh. It's preseason. Well, hang on here. This is going to continue. This is going to continue all season long. And that's exactly what happened. Catalogue after catalogue after catalogue of errors. So I think you can read into the back line because there is no real improvement in that. But you can also read into the rest of it by going, well, there's a lot of improvement in other areas. So, look, we're fans. It doesn't matter whether it's preseason, whether it's training, whether it's this. Even players walking in. I was guilty of it myself, looking at the body language. This, that, and the other. We read into things. That's what we do as fans. But look, I suppose, when you strip it back, you got to understand the basics of it. It's about getting fit, understanding the tactics, nothing more. Yeah,
absolutely. One thing I want to talk about of the last 20, as we start the last 20 minutes of the show, Vicario. Again, I feel like everyone's gone way overboard trying to knock a bloke after 45 minutes of his debut. Where are we at with this? Because lots of people are blaming him for those goals. I don't blame him for those goals. They're like point blank headers right in front of him with no defence to come and take the pressure away from him on his debut. Where are we at with that? Because Jimmy says, Savva, I know he's a new player and we're all excited, but Vicario was a shambles for those 2 goals. If that was Lloris, he gets slaughtered. Was he a shambles?
I think, look, when you break down the goals, right, one of them was a corner towards the near post. Your keeper ain't going to come out for that. He's not told to. Anything that comes in and around, the centre of the area and beyond, if he can come for it and claim it, he's instructed to. But he ain't instructed to come towards the near post. That's why you have defenders there to protect that. That's why you've even got a guy standing on the near post. The other goal, it was a cross into the box. That was clear from a set piece. And he ain't going to come out that far to collect that either. I think it's very, very harsh. Look, I get he gave away one of the set pieces that led to a goal, but it was a shit pass back anyway. The pass back, put him under that pressure, put him under that. For me, look, too much into it. What I don't like is Brandon Austin getting 45 minutes. Useless exercise. I can understand why Ange done it. The guy ain't ever going to feature in the Spurs first team. He's probably going to be sold. So why not put Vicario out there and give him that minutes, even if it is behind Sanchez? Because the club don't sign centre-backs. They're the other guys he's going to have to play behind anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I mean, look, Hollie, he told us we were going to see everyone in pre-season. And for me, at this early stage of pre-season, I think it's fine. Everyone's not completely fit, 45 minutes. Are you expecting, as we go on, that you will see the likes of Vicario playing more than 45 minutes, actually starting to now find what is the 11 and kind of moulding them together? Also, what did you think of Vicario's performance? Was he a shambles? Because I feel like this is so harsh.
I think it is as well. And let's not forget, he's only literally just joined Spurs pretty much. Okay, he's had a few training sessions, but my God, okay, you stick me in goal in front of that back line, I think I'd have a heart attack. He's got to put up with it. I think with goalkeepers, it's very much about confidence. And if you've got a confidence back line in front of you, then that you're going to feed off that. And I just don't think that's happening with our defence. Don't get me wrong, I still think he's got a little bit of work to do, but he's still very young. He's going to grow into the game. I think if we're having this conversation halfway through the season, all right, okay, we'll have a conversation about it, but not the first game of pre-season. I don't think there's any point. And I think you're right. I think as pre-season goes along, as we play these games, we will start to suss out, and I think Andrew as well, what this formation is and what his key players are where. I think right now, like you said, just get some minutes in the legs and go from there pretty much.
See, and I think this is, this is for me why it was also so important to have these new centre-backs, new defenders in for pre-season, so that you could go into game one knowing, right, there's your new keeper. This is going to be my centre-back pairing. These are going to be my fullbacks. Right, let's mould them together. I get the feeling the next game we're going to see a different starting lineup, and my worry is that we then don't create a back four. Like we don't create and then we start using the first 2 or 3 Premier League games for them to mold together rather than the pre-season. That is the big thing when people say to me, window's not shut. Of course it's not shut, but a serious club has them in on that plane, bonding. Forget bonding, getting to know their teammates, the banter, the training,
I agree. And I've said this, people said to me, Dave, calm down about the centre-backs. There's still 4 or 5 weeks left of the window. Great. But the club have missed a huge opportunity to get it done. You have that centre-back pairing there today. You win that game, that builds momentum right through. But the most important thing is putting them in a match scenario where there's nothing on the line, where there's no 3 points, a win, or, there's absolutely nothing on the line. And you can let them learn off each other, learn each other's games. It's a valuable part of being a good centre-back partnership, that they know exactly what the other guy is going to do, how he's going to react, so that they can adjust their position and counter it and everything else. That's the biggest opportunity missed. And now what we're going to see is a knock-on effect into the league, where you're going to see, the centre-back partnership make mistakes, and it's going to be costly. That then costs you 3 points. And that's why I keep telling people it's criminal not to have it done before pre-season, because we may sit here and go, but we still got windows left. But we won't be saying that when them league games come around. And when Ange starts losing games because of it, because it's going to happen, he's not going to lose every game, but there are going to be games there where we lose because of it. It then puts pressure on the squad, then puts pressure on Ange. That's not needed. If they would have just done it, earlier. It's not rocket science.
It's not. I think, isn't it crazy, Hollie, that we're in this situation where you've got a new manager with a completely new ethos that's trying to lift what was a very somber football club towards the end of, for most of all of last season, with a couple of new players, a new number one, a new playmaker, and the heat on these players, I don't mean temperature-wise, from fans on game one just feels absolutely unnecessary. And my question into this is, if this is what we're going to be like after 45 minutes of pre-season game one, what's it going to be like if we lose, say, 2 of our first 4 league games, for example? Can you imagine how hostile and vile it's going to be?
It's going to be incredibly rough. Let's put it that way. I really don't get it. I get the frustration, because don't get me wrong, last season I was pulling my hair out, and I probably will pull my hair out at times this season. But the only thing that's keeping me level-headed is the fact that I feel like there's actually a plan with Ange. It's not like, let's defend the ball, we're doing it this way, we're going to try and attack when we can, but we've got rubbish defenders, so the ball's going to go in the back of the net anyway. With Ange, I feel like we're actually on the head and going on the road towards something. Whereas with Conte and Jose, towards the end of their stint, we weren't really. And I think that's just what everybody's got to keep in their mind. I doubt that will happen, because, like I said, we had managers in that were winners and didn't win anything. And I think that's just instilled within us that we want something that we can't necessarily have right now. And I think we've always been on that road. And don't get me wrong, we all want to win something, but it's going to take time, because we've done so much unraveling. We've almost gone back in time, so we've got further to push. And I think that's the thing. We just need patience. Whether that happens though with us, I don't know.
I mean, it's strange, isn't it? We've seen Dave. Sorry to cut you off there. We've seen Dave that, even when Pep Guardiola, listen, I'm not going to. Arguably the greatest manager that's ever lived, one of this, blah blah blah, in the legends category. Even when he came over to the Premier League with money, with a top team that is used to winning things, you saw that it didn't hit the ground. He didn't hit the ground running, and everyone was, oh my God, his type of football, it won't work in the Premier League. Now, 6 years later, everyone's going, oh, it's not fair because, he's got this and that. Like, on one hand, it won't work. On the other hand, it's brilliant. I'm not suggesting we're going to do Man City. Please don't. I don't want anyone to take it like that. But if he needed some time to sort out Deadwood, if he needed some time to sort out players to play his style of play, we're not even on that level. And we're criticising after one game. I've seen Ange go back to Celtic. This isn't the Scottish League. This guy's a bum. It's like, wow. Like, is that really the club? Is that the fan base we want to be? Is that who we are?
Look, I think the reason why people are like that is because they've lost all patience with everything that goes on in this football club. Everything is just hard graft. It's never wake up, done, positive. And no matter what we do, whether it's training, whether it's appointing managers, bringing in players, trying to sort out problems, it's always dragging our heels. It's never proactive. And then when a club does that, the fans then don't give the club as much leeway to get their house in order. Unfortunately, we are at a time where it's going to take time. I've said this even when we appointed Jose Mourinho, or when we were on the verge of firing Jose Mourinho, that it's after Pochettino, it's going to take time. But even now, because we got ourselves into such a mess and gone 4 or 5 different directions, it's even more critical now to give this time. Even Jurgen Klopp needed time when he first walked in. I remember him losing to the West Brom and everything. Liverpool fans were going mad, but, the board gave him time. But the reality is, we can sit here and call for patience, but no one's going to give this guy patience. The board won't do it. They haven't shown that they're willing to do that, over the last couple of years, that they're going to give these guys patience in the job to be able to sort out the deadwood and provide them the players they need. And the fans ain't going to do it either, because the reality is, the more the club keep putting up the ticket prices, the more fans expect. So the club are putting the expectancy onto the fans by upping the prices, and the fans are pissed off because the product they're seeing on the pitch does not reflect the prices that they're being asked to pay. So, it's, again, what can we do? What can we do? Fans are going to get pissed off because the more they charge, the more the expectancy comes, and the club ain't delivering it. So, again, it's got to be the club that, gives off this aura that we are going to give this time. The club have to show patience in the project, and then hopefully the fans will follow.
Yeah, I mean, Hollie, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I get it, right? Fans are annoyed. It's been a very long time since we won something. It's not been great. I just feel that to stop this constant merry-go-round at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and if this is what we want to be moving forward in terms of strategy, whatever word you want to use, roadmap, blah, 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 then we've got to let this philosophy embed itself. We've got to get to the stage where we're gonna have rough periods in the season where we might not win a game for 3 or 4, but we need to stick with it. We need to fight through it, and even if that means Postecoglou goes in a couple of years, the next manager that comes in needs to be of the same philosophy, the same ilk, not word for word, so to speak, but similar, right? And that's what I think we need to keep doing. But as much as we hate it, we do need to be patient. Even though we've been very patient, we do need to be patient because this feels like the start of a new beginning because he plays football.
100%. And I think when obviously he was rumoured in joining, I think not all of us, but I did turn my nose up a bit, and I was like, I wanted Nagelsmann or someone like that. I don't know who Postecoglou really is. But as soon as he had that first interview, the fact he's so down to earth, the fact that he knows where he wants to go, to me is like, right, cool, do whatever you please, because I'm fed up of not having any direction. And I feel like he is the man to do so. It's just whether all of us have that patience. And I fully agree with David in the fact that I can understand why there isn't patience because of these prices. I mean, next season I'm probably not going to be able to make it to a game just because I can't afford it. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's getting so expensive, isn't it?
And for me, it's like I've got to travel there. Okay, that's not their fault, but I've got to travel there. I've then got to pay for my fit. But I'm looking at about 300 quid for a game. And then if I get there and the performance is half-assed, I'm thinking, why did I bother? So I can fully get that frustration. But as a collective, I feel like if we all want to move forward together, we've got to give this guy time, 100%.
Just quickly, I mean, Billy Horrocks keeps putting in the chat about the League Cup, winning the League Cup. I just want to say, I don't know how you guys feel about this. Billy, look, I know we're only going to be playing one game a week, but the thing is that doesn't weaken Man City. That doesn't weaken Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle. These clubs will go for these trophies as well. So the whole, you're only playing once a week. I don't see what relevance that's really got to how we go and just win a League Cup. To win the League Cup, yes, I'm not saying we can't, Dave and Hollie. I'm not saying we can't, but it's an uphill battle, right? There's a lot of better teams than us at the moment that City take every competition seriously, right? City do. Arsenal do. Not so much Arsenal lately, but they used to. Man United do. They were just in both cup finals. Chelsea, traditionally in the last 10, 15, 20 years, win cups. I feel like this is such a pressure to put on a manager that it's almost like win the League Cup. Go on, year one, go on, win something. I feel like it's so much unnecessary pressure.
It would have been easier for us to go into the Europa Conference League and win that than it is a League Cup or FA Cup nowadays. Look, the problem we've got, look, we can definitely go on a cup run for sure. But the problem we've got is when we get to a semi-final or a final, it's always been the same problem. You're going to come up against, it was with Chelsea under Antonio Conte, but you'll come up against a United or a Liverpool or United. And when it comes to them games, especially if we make it to a final, it ain't going to be a game where we seen today where it's going to be 3-2 and you're going to go and outscore a team. It's going to be a cagey affair, more than likely be 1-0. Tottenham do not have the ball, but also we don't have the defence to compete. So right now, until we improve that backline, we ain't winning jack shit. Because as soon as them big games come around, it's going to crumble. And I don't want to hear anyone tell me any different. Look at all the big games last year. They crumbled in every single one of them, despite people saying to me going into games because I was upset about it. And I'm like, well, I know what to expect today. They're like, Dave, you're being negative, this, that, and the other. Just be positive. It's like, what? I know exactly what's going to come further down the line with these guys. There's nothing for them. I'm not going to sit here and fake it, at the end of the day. So, until they change that back line, we are never, ever, ever going to compete because when you get there, that's when you need that mentality the most. That's when you need to limit your mistakes the most. And we don't have the back line to do it. So we're never going to be able to compete for a trophy until we change it.
By the way, is anyone else, is this guy just winding me up? Is anyone else having problems seeing our faces and our messages? I've got it on my phone and it's perfect HD, very clear. Right, okay, cool, good. Just checking. Hollie, Same to you. I mean, listen, cups are cups. It's all about the favour of the draw. But eventually, you're going to play one of the big boys, or girls, if we call it now, and those teams have lots of good players. So I feel it's really harsh that we're just saying, right, go on, we've not won anything for 15 years under Poch, Jose, Conte, Harry, but you have to win. It's harsh, right?
It is harsh. And again, I think this goes down to the patience thing. We're all frustrated. And I think the fact, like we've all talked about, the fact that we're not in European competition means that we have extra days of rest to be able to do this. I don't know. Like we've all said, we're not writing it off. I just think it's going to be a very, very hard struggle to do so. But that's always with a game of football. And like you said, those other teams have benches packed with players. And we have a defence that currently is packed with players, but not quality ones. Whereas they have packed benches with quality players. And I don't know if we're at that level just yet.
We're not even at a level where we can put out a decent back four, let alone change it up in the League Cup. Do you know what I mean? I do find it very, very interesting. Tin Man's come back in with another super chat and say, here we go. Oh, hang on. This is where I get in trouble, Hollie. Hollie, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you've seen much of what I do. I'm not the biggest Romero fan. I think Romero's okay, but I do feel like everyone talks about this guy as though he is Ledley King or something, and I'm not impressed. But the question from Tim Man is, and me and David always text about this, the question is, would you sell Romero if it meant the other three coming the other way? Now, for me, categorically, if that was the option in this hypothetical world, yes. Why wouldn't I? Hollie, where are you with this? Would you sell Romero for those three?
It is very difficult because I think I'm kind of blinded at the sense that I think he's amazing because we've got trash at the back. I think that's probably the only thing, because my mate's an Arsenal fan, but it sounds really horrible. She's a sensible Arsenal fan. And I thought she was just winding me up saying that he's crap. But the fact that you two are like, it's not great. I don't know. I think it's just because he's got that bit of ruthlessness in him and it'll clatter people. But again, that's not always great. But I feel like with Romero, we've needed someone like that at the back for a long time. But now we've got these other two people kind of lined up in the kind of work. So I'm thinking, maybe that's not so bad. I don't know. With me, I think I'm just blinded with Romero at the moment. Until I see someone better come in, he's top dog for me currently.
I mean, yeah, he is. And look, Dave, this is something that we always kind of disagree on. By the way, I think, like, because I say this, everyone thinks I hate him. I don't hate him. And he is the best of a bad bunch. But I do wonder, how long can he keep living off of playing poorly and blaming everyone else? At what point does it just become, maybe he's not as good as everyone's making him out to be? Because I'm going to ask you this, Dave. In year one, when he got his praise at Spurs, he played with Davis and Dyer, right? In year two, when all of a sudden it was everyone else's fault but his, he played with Davis and Dyer. So could it be, Dave, could it be that he's decent, but he's got a lot to prove?
Yeah, look, he's not the finished article by any means, but I think he's got a lot of attributes that if he could hone them skills, I think he could become a very, very good defender. And don't get me wrong, I think he'll always need that guy beside him that wants to go and clear them balls and win them headers, because I just don't see Romero as that sort of defender. But anything on the ground, he'll go and take. And I think he's very, very good on the ball. But look, when it comes to Romero, I get what you're saying. I think last season, I watched a documentary on Amazon Prime about that Argentina team, and they're all very, very close. And he all sort of had that bond where it was sort of like Argentina first above everything. Make sure you arrive at this World Cup. We're ready to win it. And I think he bought into it. I think maybe he slacked off bits of last season. But that's why he's got a massive point to prove this season. You know, a massive, massive point to prove. And for me, I get the conversation.
But world class, Dave. Like, our fans do this. World class. I've not seen this guy do anything that puts him in a bracket with the top defenders in world football. Like, really? Like, this is where I try and bring people back to a kind of sensible meeting point. He's not world class in any stretch of the imagination. If he was, he'd be he'd be marshalling that back four. If he was world class, he'd be going, you there, you here, you come with me. He'd be going and attacking balls. Surely, come on, this is mad.
Look, I think he has potential to be world class, like I said, but he's got to hone his skills. He has to do things a little bit better. And like you said, he also has to develop that leadership sort of side to his game. Whether he will or not, I'm not so sure. I don't know whether it's in him or not. But look, when it comes to Romero, I get why people have these conversations. But for me, we need to park these. And we just need to talk about Dyer, Sanchez, Davies, and Roden until they're gone, until we improve. And then once we bring in better defenders, then we can start talking about our good defenders and who's the weakest and what they need to improve on, this, that, and the other. But the reason why me personally, I refuse to entertain the Romero conversation this summer is because there's 4 more that need to go first, way out the door before I even entertain that conversation.
Sure. Just quickly, I'd just like to add, when you lose all credence is when you say he pocketed Mbappe in a World Cup final, in which Mbappe scored a hat-trick. I mean, I'm not sure scoring a hat-trick means you were pocketed. Hey, it is what it is. Listen, by the way, I'm not saying actively go and sell Romero. What I'm saying is that hypothetical question, if it meant Romero going and those 3 coming in, I'm all over it, right? I'm all over it. Guys and girls, before we go, listen, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed having you on, Hollie. Thanks. It's been a long time. We haven't streamed for ages, so hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. Can you tell everyone where they can find you, what sort of content you put out? Tell the world and subscribe to Hollie.
Thank you for having me, Savva. Yeah, it has been a little while. But no, I really appreciate you getting me on. It was nice to actually dissect football. It's been a long time. But no, you can find me over at my channel, Hollie Agrawal. I do Irish Hotspurs live every Monday, where I get 3 guests on to dissect everything that's happened in the game. I do little match reactions if the game is in the week and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. But before you even go check me out, make sure you subscribe and like Savva's channel first.
Oh, that's very nice. So please, everybody, please do get over and subscribe to Irish Hotspur. She has some really good guests on. Just done a really good show with Stephen Corker. So if you've got the ex-Spurs player, who I'd probably have at centre-back right now, even though he's not playing anymore, I'd have him right now. Please get over there, check that out. And if you like what you see, subscribe to our channel. Dave, everyone knows you, but tell them anyway what you got coming up. If they find you.
Yes, have a look. I'd even have Cameron Carter-Vickers back right now if you want me to be completely honest. You know,
me too, mate.
You know, if they signed you tomorrow, I'd be delighted. To come in at centre back. And also, Billy, there's only one man to pocket Mbappe, and that's Nathan Collins at the Aviva. I've never seen anyone do a job on Mbappe like Nathan Collins, my man. But look, people, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. I know you like what I've got to say. Get over there, smash that subscribe button. And you know what? It was a pleasure streaming you, Hollie. I haven't done it in quite some time. Savva, thanks for having me, my man.
But by the way, just quickly, when people all the comments come in, when people are saying why we're having this conversation, it was purely because the super chat asked me this very question. I didn't bring it up and go, "Hi guys, should we sell Romero and buy a backline?" I didn't do that. Can we relax? It's rude for someone to pay you to ask a question and then not answer it. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed it. Guys and girls, on your way out, smash the like button if you haven't done so already. Please keep subscribing. We are about 170 away from 7,500 now. Help me get to that point. Subscribe to Dave. Subscribe to Hollie. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning for a Wednesday morning chat with Savva. Much love. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Hollie. And as always, we will see you later.